All right, welcome back to the Underdog Wealth Academy. Today I am joined by my friend Ben Gottfredson, St. George boy, up here for the weekend, right?
Let's do it.
Let's go. Thanks for joining me, man.
I'm excited. I've been looking forward to reconnecting for a while. So.
Yeah, Ben and I met in a mastermind group put on by Brody Fawcett, the Dream Big, Bigger, Faster group, and became good buds through that, and we've stayed connected. And Ben has 3 kids, happily married man, St. George, lives in St. George, and he's the founder and owner of Big Ben's Moving and Storage. So he owns a moving company. I'm a customer. I just hired him a month or two ago to move a bunch of furniture out of one of my rentals, and then has a bunch of storage facilities. So those businesses kind of work synergistically. So I'm excited to talk through that today.
Yeah.
And just talk life, dude. So
thanks for having me.
Thanks again for coming on. Yeah, how's life? How's family? I know you guys just had your 3rd baby. How's life on the family front?
Yeah, we just had baby girl, little Olivia, and I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So honestly, my oldest is a girl. The tricky one is the boy.
Yeah.
He's just like bouncing off the walls. But they're my pride and joy. Like, it's just when I come home from work, they say, "Daddy."
Yeah.
It's like a pay. Like, you don't have to train them to do that. It's just like a blessing that God puts in their heart. And so that's my payday. Yeah, we've been, I was telling you, we've been setting annual goals with our executive team. I have 3 teams that I run. Big Ben's Moving, which is our service business. Big Storage Ventures, which is like our private equity business for putting deals together, storage syndications. Mm-hmm. And then Big Storage Holdings, which is kind of like our storage property management. Mm-hmm. So we've just been kind of trying to retain our executives, get all of our goals in line for the year, and now we're in like execution mode.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's a cool business to be in, and they work so synergistically, right?
Yeah.
Like me as the customer, it was like, who do I know that's in this space? Ben, cool. Hire the crew to move my stuff out. That went amazing. And then it was like this next necessary need was like, what am I going to do with all this stuff until I sell it? And then boom, you put it in one of your storage units. So it was awesome.
Happy to be of service. Not what I thought I was going to grow up doing, but happy to do it.
Tell me about that, dude. Like maybe a little bit about the upbringing, and then how did you end up in that space? Like
you said, I grew up in Southern Utah, very sports heavy childhood.
Yeah.
Playing basketball and football, and so that's a lot of like how I think. I try to set up the whole company like a depth chart and try to have a competitive spirit. But that was also why I couldn't hold down a job. So my dad, he taught me hard work through just printing out business cards. Mm-hmm. He's a hard worker. He works at the hospital. Doesn't have a ton of entrepreneur experience. So I think he's just trying to teach me hard work.
Yeah.
And he printed out these little business cards that said Big Ben's Moving. I didn't make up the name, he did.
Cool.
And then he just handed them out to people, and they would call me, and I'd come use my back and use a pickup truck, and that's kind of.
So it started with like your dad. Was it your dad's idea? Like, dude, you should just go do this, work hard, and move people in and out type thing? And
yeah, my grandma had a rest home, and she saw an issue where like other moving companies were either like too big and overpriced or kind of local and shady. Mm-hmm. So she's just like, I'll just hire my daughter and son-in-law to do this. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of got roped into it, and then he's just like, you do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just kind of spread like wildfire. Like I didn't have any experience in a moving company, which is maybe a disadvantage in some ways, but in some ways it was an advantage because I kind of just had to make up my process that was a little more tailored to the customer. Mm-hmm. And people just started calling after we'd moved their mom into a rest home. They'd say, well, can you move my mansion to another city? And we just have to start. I think one of the big things early on was just saying yes and then figuring it out later.
Yeah.
Like I'll do it. Yeah. And then just after that phone call, okay, how am I going to do it?
Yeah. I think it's cool that your name's on it. I think it's cool that your dad, threw your name on it. I've thought about that. Like, take some guts to put your own name on a business.
Yeah.
Right. Because some people can hide behind like, I own this thing, but it's called this. And if things go south, I'll just kind of slide into the bush and,
No, I mean, it's a lot to live up to. It's my name. And I, a lot of people like meet me in oh, you're Big Ben. It's like, dude, I didn't make it up. Yeah. I don't think I'm that big.
Right.
And I'm not like that guy that would put my own name on something, but my dad my dad said that this was what the name was going to be, and it was kind of too late to change it.
Yeah.
By the time it caught on, it's like,
it's got a nice ring to it, dude.
Yeah.
And I've seen your billboards on the side of the freeway and stuff, and I love the brand. I think it's awesome, and it's got to be big, dude. You can't be a moving company and be little Ben. You know?
Yeah,
we gotta have some big boys in there moving furniture. It can't be little boys.
If I'm not big enough in stature for you, I'll make up for it in hard work.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that. That's cool. Okay, so basically, like friends and family. I mean, it just kind of stemmed from like my dad was a hard worker. He wanted me to have a job, and then all of a sudden you just started the thing, and friends and family, and then just it feels like you've kind of been building the plane as you've been flying then, huh? So maybe talk through the first couple years. How long have you been in business?
Yeah, we started when I was a teenager,
Okay.
went on a mission to Florida, and so it got put on ice kind of, but then wasn't too hard to pick it back up. And I'd say that was when I was playing football at Dixie State when it was D2 and it was Dixie State.
Yeah.
And so
What position did you play?
Defensive end.
Cool.
And so, that kind of took up a lot, but I had a little time on the off season, weekends to pick up these odd jobs, and that's where really got momentum. And yeah, it was a lot of friends, people that I knew I could trust, people I wanted to work with. One thing that helped me scale and like bring on a team is the fact that you can't move a piano by yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of times people will have like a service business where they're washing windows or
Right.
something. It's like they don't want to hire anyone else out. I had to
Yeah,
hire a
makes
team
sense.
out
Yeah.
from day one. It's like you can't do stuff in moving with just one guy.
Yeah.
So it would it would stem from like, okay, I'm on every job, and then we got so busy that it's like I have school that day. You guys have to go without me, but I trust you, and I'm paying you well enough that it's like you're gonna do a good job. You know.
Yeah.
And then it just there was a crossroads when I graduated. I got my corporate job I went to college for. Tried it for a couple weeks, and I would,
What was that?
it was tech sales. It is a company called Printer Logic, and I had some contacts there that really hooked it up. It was like, like the job you go to college for.
Right. Yep.
But I tried it for a couple weeks, and I gave it like a full effort, and I would only take moving calls at lunch, and then after work I would probably call back from like 5 to 10 p.m. to set up the next day. But after a couple weeks, it was just like, dude, I'm making more in a couple days with this moving company than the entire pay period at this tech sales thing. So
yeah. So it was mainly because I was going to ask, like, what was the main reason why you didn't feel like it was it when you were working that job? It was mainly financial upside, or was there an element of like this other thing feels like I'm creating something, and the other one more so just feels like I'm plugging into someone else's thing?
Yeah, and I think it was, in my head, I knew taking the job. I didn't go into it thinking that I would make less, or that I would make more than I was with the moving company, but I was like hoping for some exposure to like the executive team, the people calling the shots. How do you run a big business like this?
Yeah.
But I was just kind of put entry level, which I mean, it's fair. I just graduated college. Like, it's hard for me to skip the line, but I didn't get the exposure on how to run a business that I wanted. But I also think like my activities weren't necessarily directly tied to my income, and that's a big deal for me. And I try to keep that in mind now as I'm hiring and scaling and building an executive team, like giving them a lot of exposure and giving them a path that's like, no, you could be at the top fast. Like my CEO, he was in the field moving furniture 2 years ago.
Yeah, cool.
And so like I think I keep that in mind. That's like partially with my sports background, but also partially with, that experience is like everyone needs a path where they at least have a choice if they want to stay where they're at or get to the top.
Yeah.
I know you guys do that too in your business.
Yeah, I think results culture, like a culture of results, culture of like, we don't care so much how long you've been here, but we care a lot about the type of value you can create and the type of person you are. And so I love that. I think that's super cool. How many people do you guys have?
I lose count. We have probably about 50 on the moving side and probably 15 on the storage side.
Yeah. From what I've seen, you're just a good operator. Like I know we've done some goal setting stuff together with the mastermind, and I just feel like you, I know you have a lot of people that rely on you, and it does feel like you've become a really good operator. What are the lessons you've maybe one or two nuggets along the way you've had to learn to become a really good operator of a business?
Well, each business has like different.
Yeah, that's the thing is you're in different. You're in some different business. Like there's the moving one, but then there's also storage stuff, and they're really two different businesses in a big way, right?
Yeah, they really are. And so I think being a good operator, right? Like there's the pillars, right? And so you have to be good at what you're good at, willing to delegate. Delegation is huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because one of my strengths is that I'm not a perfectionist. I feel like perfectionism gets in the way of excellence.
Yeah.
So like, give you an example, right? If I'm on a job moving your furniture, like I know I'm there, I know it's going to go well. But what I've done is I've hired people who are better at moving than me and paired them up to train people that are like, now we have like an army of guys. And so like, I think the perfectionist doesn't want to let go of that, because I can provide a better experience for the majority of my customers than if I was actually there myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one or two that fall short, like I can make up for that. I can make concessions to the customer, but being willing to pass stuff off is a big deal.
Yeah,
you know?
That's cool. I love that. That's a great answer. So you feel like actually not being a perfectionist has been a superpower of yours, because you've just felt like you haven't like hesitated a ton in giving people a shot.
Yeah, and you bring in detail-oriented people around you,
mm-hmm.
right? So you bring in people to bring you back down to earth, and people to kind of like stay in the details of the numbers to help you with reports and stuff like that.
Right.
And you kind of compensate for the visionary characteristics. You know?
So did the moving company create a necessity for the storage company? Tell me about that, like how the one created the need for the other, and maybe the timeline on that and story.
Yeah. So I think it's something that kind of chose its own path, right? So moving company was going well, growing, scaling from Southern Utah to Utah County and Salt Lake County. And it's a great cash cow. Like everyone should have a cash cow. I feel like that's what you provide for people with your business. Yep. Everyone has their own cash cow.
Right.
And then obviously that's going to springboard into, wise stewards of cash, park it in investments. Obviously we feel really strongly about real estate. Yep. I feel strongly about specifically commercial real estate now, mm-hmm. but I started out with these residential properties. And I was kind of nostalgic. I was coming through, crossing the street. I have an old rental property like a block away from here, in Orem, that I had 9 guys piled in that house. Classic, at $500 or $600 a month, depending on their spot. You know what I mean? And that was like my first taste of real estate. Mm. And it was like, oh dang, like I can cash flow this thing for double what the mortgage is, and I can pull equity out, mm-hmm. 6 figures of equity out like mm-hmm. a year later. Like, wow, I love this thing,
Yeah.
That little introduction to real estate combined with taking calls for storage all the time. And I would have to pass, hey, Big Ben's moving. Can I help you? Yeah, we'd love you to do our move. We've heard great things. Great. Let's sign you up. Let's get a date on the calendar. Oh, and do you have storage? No, I don't. I'll pass you off to someone. So the lead generation, like the demand was in my face every
You were
day.
acting as a setter for other people's storage facilities all day long.
Yeah.
There's just 2 big things, which to me makes tons of sense. One is you wanted to capture that lead, and then and there was a business opportunity there, but then the other side of it is that like, okay, I'm making cash doing this moving thing, but like personally that's like a cash cow, but I want to be able to build wealth, multiply it through assets, and so the storage really solved kind of both those problems.
Exactly.
That's sweet, man.
Yeah, it was a natural progression.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, so at that point I had like made a decision. This would have been probably 2018-ish in there. And I graduated college in 2018, doubled down on the moving company then. So like between then and 2019, I was having this experience of, passing off all these leads and learning about how this rental property thing works. And so finally I said, okay, I'm going to take my life savings and put it into a self-storage facility.
In St. George?
Yeah, but it wasn't so easy. Like I bought a piece of land cash with my life savings, but even then I still couldn't convince a bank to loan to me. Like I had no mentors, whether I was too dumb or too prideful, probably a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. I didn't ask for help. Like I didn't know who to go to. I didn't have a coach or anything like that at the time. And so I would just go from bank to bank and beg them to give me a loan. And one would say like, no, but here's some feedback. And then I would put it in a spreadsheet and take it to the next bank. And they'd say, yeah, still no, but here's more feedback. Mm-hmm. Until finally, like I got over a dozen rejections until like the third banker at the same bank, just a different branch, finally said yes.
That's awesome.
So I think that was a big like.
And you got a loan, so you owned the land in cash, but you were trying to go get a loan to help, and they were going to help. You were going to go build loan. A construction loan to go build a storage facility.
Yeah, because I had no idea, no finance experience, like just a belief that like I have demand for this, I know I can build it kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so, I didn't know. Now I have like a whole infrastructure of like cold callers looking for off market storage facilities for acquisitions, like one that's already done that we can buy. Yeah. But at the time I had no experience, no way of knowing like, how do I get a storage facility? Oh, well, I guess I just got to build one.
Yeah. So your model now, do you build units now or, oh, you do? Okay, cool.
But less, right? So like the better I get at this, the more we're buying and the less we're building, because, building is something that you can create. There's a lot of wealth creation in building.
Because you can force the equity a little bit more.
Yeah, because you're always going to, if you're going to buy a storage facility, no one's going to sell on a discount. Mm-hmm. So you always have to pay for that
multiple
net income.
Yeah. But
you can just build something construction cost. But the problem is the 3 years it takes for construction, lease up.
Yeah.
And so, we're buying a lot more acquisitions today, but, the first one was a ground up building, and we've done a couple more too.
Cool. Well, let's talk commercial real estate, because a lot of my listeners know residential real estate. I own a bunch of two to 4 unit, probably similar to your Orem type deals, right? First couple ones I house hacked, and then since then lots of like 20-25% down, bigger checks. But I have heard, and I love the idea of storage. One, because it's less. I mean, you're just not dealing with people. Like you're dealing with like. There's nothing in there except stuff, right? And stuff usually doesn't call you. Like people call you, and they complain, so I love that component. But maybe talk to me about that, and then the other obvious benefits of in commercial real estate, specifically storage. It's kind of more treated like a business where you buy it for a certain number, it's doing X amount in revenue, but if you can go crank it up and get it to perform better, then the upside is much bigger than on a residential deal where you might be able to increase rents by a certain amount. Talk to me about commercial versus residential, whereas residential runs on comps, but commercial runs on performance.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there, and now at this point, I'm kind of a big storage nerd, so you just guide me how you want me to go. But you're basically talking about, like, you brought up operational advantages, financial advantages, and then you brought up, at the end, how, like, housing is a commodity, right? Like people will buy a house and like there's no way it would cash flow as a rental property.
Yeah.
So you're competing against people who are buying houses that they could just live in and pay the mortgage. They don't need to turn a profit. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the last thing you said. Operationally, right? You brought up there's no toilets. Like people don't live when you auction someone's stuff out and you evict them, like you don't have to feel guilty about throwing a single mom on the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's tons of operational advantages. I feel like it's very scalable. Now I'm very biased towards self-storage and commercial real estate, but even if you're in, residential real estate, I just recommend everybody run it like a business. Like if you're gonna be a guy that hoards rental properties, you got to build out a whole property management system and infrastructure, because if you hire a property manager, a lot of times, a lot of your yield, a lot of your return is
eaten up,
kind of gone.
Yeah.
And I think that gets into like the financial component, which is, I'm like literally just on my drive up here, got a text from a guy who's like, hey, I'm 1031ing these rental properties, and I'm wondering if I could do it into a storage facility. I'm getting better returns from the storage investment that you got me in than this rental property that I have to manage myself.
Interesting. And he's a limited partner in your deal.
Yeah.
So when he's getting a better return as a limited partner, his brain's exploding because he's like, I own these other ones outright, and your deal is kicking my deal's butt type. Yeah. Right.
But he's a dentist. And so he's like, his cash cow is his dental practice.
Sure.
His time, fixing toilets and worrying about these rental properties is just not worth it when he could get a better return parking it in something else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's awesome. I mean, my reps, as you mentioned, like they have a cash cow, and that's why I'm always teaching and preaching. Like, you got to multiply your money, right? Like I taught you how to make it, taught you how to manage people and make more of it. But like, you got to multiply it, and you got to get it working for you. And you and I are probably about the same age, but it's like, it just works, right? Like, you invest your money at a young age, and all the investments I made as a 23, 24, 25, 26-year-old now, I'm like, I am so thankful I did that and not the nicer car or the, I mean, and I can't wait to see what those look like in another 5-10 years. It's just, time is your best friend. And so I love that we're on the same page, on that. Maybe just talk to me a little bit more on the storage thing. So like your guys' strategy on those, and if someone wanted to get into those versus a residential deal, like if you're kind of speaking to my group, maybe give them your sales pitch on. So that you spoke to kind of the benefits and compared and contrast a little bit, but how do they go get into it? Do they need to be an accredited investor? Like, what does that kind of stuff look like?
No, like a lot of times people ask me the minimum, and the minimum is just a good understanding. Like we have offerings for accredited and non-accredited investors.
Okay, cool.
And so it's really just understanding what it is and what it isn't. When we're trying to put a deal together, right? I'm looking at, obviously, like there's the vision, the story, all the upside, but I'm also looking at the offering, right? So for us to have an offering attractive enough for someone that want to get into it, we have to have a 20 to 50% return on their money. So that means there's three real components to any real estate investment, but like the cash on cash, right? So like the quarterly checks coming your way.
That's your actual money coming back to you in your pocket.
Yeah, every quarter.
Yeah.
We do an update and a report. Your equity event, which is typically a cash out refinance, debt free or tax free. I mean,
sure.
Debt is always tax free when you pull it out. Sometimes a sell, like if someone does come to us with stupid money, we will sell. But when you average out those two, the cash on cash and then the equity play, 5 years out, 3 years out, we do a cash out refi. That's how we kind of get that equity multiple. And that's we're trying to find deals that have a floor between 20 to 50% and then some upside.
Yeah.
Then this, like the tax benefits of a cost segregation study and things like that.
So you can cost seg storage.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
That's a huge reason. Like we had this guy, we did 3 deals in December with one person. He sold his business. He did a trust business, and he bought 3 storage facilities with us just in 1 month because he had such a big tax bill.
Yeah.
He needed that depreciation.
So that guy with you, is he like a primary partner? Is he an LP, but he's like, he's the only one on it? Or like, how are you structuring a deal like that with someone like that has a bunch of money that's coming to you?
I mean,
sorry, I'm kind of
they're all
putting you
independent.
on the spot, but
no, they're all independent. Each deal is like, hey, do you want in this one? And for him, he needed as much as possible.
Yeah.
So some of them he's solo. Some of them he was, there's a whole story of he was gracious enough to let other people in.
Got it.
Like we have a close family friend who he wanted in, and this guy was willing to gobble it all up, but he like let someone else in, you know?
Cool. Yeah. That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, we have to present we're not in like fund mode.
Yeah.
There may be a season for that, but right now we're in individual deal mode where some deals are, you know, quick cash, safe. Some deals are like a new construction project.
Yeah.
Those people are typically your bigger check sizes, bigger people that want like maximum amount of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't need a return this quarter.
Yeah.
I need you to make me the most money in 10 years possible
Yeah.
for my legacy.
Right. They're like a growth minded investor type thing.
Or just one that's like they're cash heavy.
Yeah.
They need to park it
Mm-hmm.
and like build their wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. It seems like that side of your business like fires you up. Is that what side of your business is the most exciting, or do you love it all?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. Obviously, like the private equity side, putting deals together, that's probably the most sophisticated.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's like,
the part you're using your brain a little bit more.
It's more white collar, right?
Yeah.
Like
Sure. Yeah.
a lot of times people in the white collar world are not that interested in like a service business, but they're like, oh, private equity offering. Tell me more about that. You know?
Right.
But I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily like my focus. I split my time pretty evenly, like in thirds between moving, private equity storage, and storage operations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because the moving is the lifeblood. You know, with the storage investment, the cool thing is it's all like, if you could picture on a graph, like the work is heaviest at the beginning, and you know, as you go, like the work kind of trails off, right? And that's when the money comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've used the moving company to subsidize and invest in the storage infrastructure, because a lot, like the first storage facility was paying for itself. It was very, very profitable. And then once I decided, I'm not just going to be a guy that does one storage deal every 3 or 4 years and with no partners, I would rather own a minority share in multiple deals. But at that point, I had to commit to basically go cash negative on my storage business to create an executive team and infrastructure. Yeah. So the moving company helped with all that, you know?
Yeah. I think most successful entrepreneurs, even if they don't, so like a lot of my reps, they're independent contractors. They work for themselves, but they're not like on the cap table of our company. Mm-hmm. But they got their own little cap table in their life, right? But everyone's got to have, you use that word lifeblood. Like you've got to have an active, bring it in the bread strategy. And that doesn't, by the way, necessarily mean you got to have your own business with your own name on it. Yeah. But you do need to take that component seriously and always stay focused on it. And because to your point, like today, if you shut down the moving thing, like you're gonna slow, like your opportunity on the asset creation side, the storage side is really damaged.
Well, yeah, I would just have to make a ton of layoffs. Yeah. Like if I shut down I shut down the moving company, mm-hmm. like I could probably get by on my storage passive income. Mm-hmm. But holy cow, I'd have to let go of so many people. Yeah. It would just be like bare bones at that point. Yeah. But I love creating jobs and like having a trajectory of growth. Yeah. Like I have so many executives now that either have vesting shares or profit sharing components to their compensation. Yeah. And if I shut down the moving company, all of that just kind of
so that's cool. Up. I like that way of thinking. So there's a component for you that's it's not a financial, I mean, there is a financial component for sure, but like there's also this whole other component, which is like I have stewardship over people, and there's this thing has created a lot of opportunity for other people. And if I get lazy or do the comfortable thing or the easy thing or whatever, like I'm letting down a lot of people. I think that's cool. And I think our world needs more people like that are like willing to create the hub for a bunch of other people or the game arena for other people to play in. And I think that's a cool thought.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. Like you said something at the beginning, which was like something to the effect of you bring in people based off their principles, mm-hmm. rather than their experience. Mm-hmm. And Yeah, we've really done that. We have a team with really good values. And yes, like I think I've made some short-term sacrifices to kind of cut people in.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think like if you stop growing, if you let your foot off the gas too much, I feel like you could get stagnant and get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Like I picture like at the end of a basketball game when the team that's winning tries to like run out the clock and like pass it around.
Mm-hmm.
Like some teams can execute that and pull off the win, but if they start it too early in the game,
yeah,
like
usually it doesn't go well.
No. Usually it turns into a dumpster fire and they get a couple steals and
Yeah.
like the team that was winning, like their aggressive mindset like kind of turns off too early in the game.
Oh, I love that thought. I see that. You see that all the time. You're up 10, 15 points with 3-4 minutes left. You start passing it around, dinking around, and then the other team's playing offense, like they're hunting you, and
They're
you're just
taking
like
risks.
you're watching the clock over and over again. Like, please, how does that clock keep? Can I speed up the clock to get this game over with? And yeah, I think that analogy is really cool for life and business. Like, if you're not, I love the concept of like if you're not growing, then you're like maintaining is exhausting. Like. Just like we're gonna just kind of break even this year and keep the thing afloat. Like that's more stressful than the growth. And growing's fun.
Yeah, and I think the key is like getting out of the drudgery zone, right? Like people that want to sell a business like a hot potato like too early. It's because they haven't gotten themselves into a role where they wake up and they're happy and content.
Yeah.
So people that like they're like I'm just building this business just to exit.
Right.
No shame in that. Like if you can get that exit, great, and you could be set for life.
Yeah.
But like I see way too much people are like, I'm building this business to exit, and it's because they're miserable in their role. And so I think one key is like, obviously you have to build a good stress tolerance, which we could talk about that more. But the second thing is you have to get into a role where you're not waking up and you're miserable. Like that's one thing I'm just so proud of and so happy with is like when I wake up, I do have a lot of the hardest jobs in the company, but like I have enough support that I'm never upset to go into work.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm always happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love the concept of like building a life that you don't need an escape from.
Yeah.
And I think that you're totally right. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, they have this dream business, they build the business, and they're kind of miserable as they're running it. And so the most convenient thing feels, or the most convenient answer is like, I'm just going to sell this thing, take some money off the table. But what happens to a lot of those people is they sell early, and then they a lot of their purpose and their excitement came from the job, and then they're kind of miserable, and they're in this spot where they have to go find a new thing or reinvent themselves. And so I think a cooler path is stay in the business, build it long term, but like structure it and structure your life in a way to where you don't need an escape from it. Like you have people that are so dang helpful, and I don't know, like you've structured it in a way that where you're not totally killing yourself. So maybe let's talk about that, wrapping up kind of soon. But like I'd love to hear, like you have a stressful gig and there's a lot going on, but you do seem happy. You've always shown up with like such fun energy from my vantage point. So like, how are you doing that? How are you managing the stress when you have, because everyone has hard days, and I'm sure you have hard days with your business. What do you lean on there? And I know you're a man of faith, like, so like whatever you do, whatever you go to there, let's hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole episode just on faith, but on specifically like staying in a space where you're happy, right? We talked about just making sure you're not wearing the wrong hat, like making sure you cut in people that can take those hard things off your plate. But also, I think developing a high stress tolerance, like I don't know if I got that from sports or my mission, but just being able to take the stress that other people can't and being willing to just don't quit. Because the people that win are just the people that keep taking punches, keep getting back up.
Yeah.
So there's that element. Once I quit that corporate job, I've just never looked back. And I feel like that's a true gift where I don't even look for the exit. I know in my head, like we'll sell these storage facilities one at a time for 20 times net income. But on the moving company, you got to get really big. We're nowhere close to like having a moving company that could make like a good exit. You're talking like 1, maybe 2 or 3 times net income. It's not enough. It's way better to just keep it going. So I've just kind of like fully committed.
Burn the boats.
And, you know, just if you know in your mind you're not going to quit, people follow that.
Yeah.
Like my executive team, they know that like I would have to die for this moving company to shut down.
Like you would go down with the ship.
Yeah. Well, like I just have committed my life to it at this point that they're like, okay, like it's going to keep growing because Ben's not going anywhere. So we may as well like hop on and get a piece of that profit sharing. Another thing is like a triage mentality. We probably talked about this back in the mastermind. Like this is like, I picture like a war medic and you have 3 people in front of you all bleeding. One person's for sure going to die. One's for sure going to live. But there's one that like, if you jump on that, you can make the biggest impact right now. So balancing like importance and urgency and finding where the equilibrium is with your time. And I do a lot of like, I plan every night the next day. I try to plan every week. Like that's just part of how I'm wired now is trying to triage every day and every week to try to get stuff done. And then it eliminates a lot of the stress because it's like, I'm going to let a lot of stuff go, but I'm going to get the most important stuff done.
Yeah. So prioritizing the right things. And then one of the thoughts that came to my mind as you were talking about, like, don't wear the wrong hat and like put the right people in the mix is this idea of like half of a watermelon's better than a whole grape, you know? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses, like it's this concept of like, this is my thing. This is my baby. I gotta own a ton of it, or I gotta do those roles because like I want full control. But it seems like what's working for you is just like having a super healthy relationship with like cutting other people into the thing and putting them on the boat with you. I think that's a super healthy mentality. And it does feel like those that are able to last a really long time, they understand that. Like hiking the mountain by yourself is really difficult and it's a really heavy lift. There was a girl on this podcast a couple weeks ago that I had on, and she said entrepreneurship is not about being the first one to the top of the mountain. It's about last man standing on the mountain. And I think that that's in a lot of ways what you said is just this idea of like, I don't even have this temptation to like shut it down and move to the beach somewhere. Like it's just not an option. So I think part of managing stress is knowing I better build the muscle to figure this out because if I don't, like, there is no other option. So I think there's some level of healthiness with that.
I think so too. I think it's sustainable. You got to get to a point where, like I could keep doing this forever. Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. Well, maybe one or two just last questions or pathways to go down, but like a lot of the listeners are 18, 25 years old, lots of college kids. Just advice that you have for them. Like you've had a lot of success, family man, you've created a beautiful family for yourself. You live right. Like I know you're, I respect a ton, just like your morals and, you've created a really awesome, just Christ-centered life, and you've been a killer in business and you're building a really cool, business. So I don't know, just anything that comes to your mind, just advice that you have for a bunch of young people that are in those years of maybe they're lower on the confidence level of just like what they can go do. What comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I love this. I love that opportunity that people have, whether you're 18 to 25 or whether you're listening and you're just like, one of my big pieces of advice is take risks as if, calculated risks, asymmetrical risks with more upside than downside, but as if you don't have anything to lose, right? One of my big advantages is that I kind of got over the hump of my business before I got married. And I wish I would have had my marriage earlier, but I think what I would advise people is, like, even if you got a wife and kids or a husband and kids, like, you know, really go to your worst case scenario. And if that's sleeping at your parents' house for a couple months, like, but the upside is untold wealth, you have to take those risks. And I married well. Like, I took a lot of time on that decision, and I feel like that has been a huge game changer. Like, my wife Lauren, she is really special. She's very supportive, very easy to be married to, and we are committed on all the same big things, right? So if you're still single, like, you can't understate the value of that, because that can take you down.
Yeah, it definitely can. I've heard it said, like, finding the right spouse is like finding the right, it's like a house where there are things that just, like, fundamentally you have to have in a home. You has to have a good foundation, you know, got to have a bathroom somewhere. Like, there's just some fundamental things that you have to have. For me, one of those in a spouse was, and sounds like was for you too, is just, like, they have to be on board for my craziness, and, like, I want to put some shots on goal in life and try some of this stuff, and, like, I might miss, and that might mean we end up in the parents' basement for a little while. Like, are you comfortable with that, right? Like, having those combos before you get married, I think, is huge, because getting the right person on the boat is big. And so I love that thought. I think that's amazing. And I think this concept on risk, like, I think nowadays it's not even like you can take risks if you want to. It's like you have to. You have got to take risks, calculated risks for sure. Don't risk it all. Don't put yourself in some bad position. But, like, things are so expensive now. If you want to go really create wealth, like, you have to make some moves. And this concept of risk is interesting, because I get people that tell me no to selling and doing, like, anything entrepreneurial. You have this type of person that's in school that kind of just gets really concerned about doing anything that's not for sure or guaranteed.
Yeah, and I mean, those people, they will fall behind too. And it's like you said, like, it's about transitioning to kind of a spiritual thing, like entrepreneurship, taking risks. Like, it pulls spiritual greatness out of you, right? Because we came to this life to grow, to have those, like, this whole life is a risk, right? Like, you took a chance on being here, experiencing all the things of mortality, and having all the highs and lows for a chance at eternal life, right? And so I think that is a huge, huge piece of it, is that mindset. I think you're trading currencies, right? So, like, you trade your time for money. But then entrepreneurship is trading enough time for enough money that you can then trade your money back in for time. You know, I call it just slicing open your hands, spilling more blood on the altar of entrepreneurship. And then people will get stuck at that step, trading your money back for time. But it's not just time, right? Because a life with free time is, you could live 100 years and have so much free time. It's not as impactful as the life of 50 years with impact, right? With experiences and memories and those type of things. And I think the pinnacle of these experiences, trading your time for relationships, like, that's really the true currency, is relationships, experiences. And at the top is, like, the eternal life, like the eternal things that are really meaningful.
Yeah.
I think, speaking to the person who's young, like, you're about to go through the gauntlet of people. Like, the biggest disease that our generation has spiritually, like, I think about our parents, like, you had, like, the alcohol and smoking and drugs, and then the plague after that was, like, pornography was really big. It still is a problem. But, like, today our biggest plague is spiritually is, like, pride and faith. And I see a lot of people that lose their faith because they have more pride than they do faith. Their integrity starts to wane on miracles they've seen or things that they know are right. And I mean, you see it too. Like there's a lot of people hopping off the boat right now. But right. I think as long as you keep your integrity, your faith intact, and really think hard about those spiritual things, you'll always come out, even if it's tough, you always come out sticking with it.
Yeah. No, I love that idea of always keeping your humility above your pride. And I see that disease today too in a big way. I couldn't agree more with that. And I love your thought on like we were designed and came here to take risks, and I've never really thought about it through that angle, but I think that's why, like, when I am doing things that, like, I'm building from zero with God, like, I feel close to God when I'm creating and risking it, right? Yeah. Like writing my book or doing my in the last couple of years, I've kicked out some kind of just like offerings and products, and it's just been fun. They've been like little passion projects I've been doing on the side to try to add value to my people. Mm-hmm. And like in a really interesting way, I've like felt closer to God doing those things than I have in a lot of other times of my life. And I think it's just like, to your point, it's like, that's what we're down here to do. Take risks, send it. It's been, I could not agree more with that. I love that.
Well, why do you love anything? Like, why do you love sports, right? Like sports, it's not about, like, having fun is great. Winning is even better. But like the ultimate reason we were drawn to it is because it pulls greatness out of us. Like when your lungs are burning, when you get pushed past that point of like God will do that to you spiritually. And that's why we love these other things in life. Is it's not random. It's because anything that pulls greatness out of us, like that's preparing us for the same sorts of things in spiritual contexts.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. So I love that. That's awesome. Well, I love the way you view the world, man. I think that it's probably why you have a lot of people that are loyal to you, that work for you, that are excited to be building with you. Is like I think you see the world in a really beautiful way, and I agree with how you see it. And this has been awesome. It's been fun to chat through all this stuff. And anything else that comes to your mind that you would say, kind of closing up?
No, man. Godspeed. Cool. I think we talked about the most important stuff. I think anyone that's following, I think we do share a lot of the same values. Yeah. Like I know that you make sacrifices. You put stuff back into your business. You put stuff in real estate when you could make other choices. And so I think anyone that's following along your journey is going to end up in the right place. So
thanks, dude. I appreciate that. Cool. Well, we'll be following your journey, and I'll make sure your stuff is tagged in this episode. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in. This was fun conversation. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks, Parker.